It's of utmost importance for students to understand that they have links with a very courageous and important and proud past. And if you look at communities like North Richmond, there are struggles that took place that got us all to this point, and we don't give enough credit to that. It is also important for us to remember that when we talk about the history, we are not just talking about a little local community, but we're talking about a community with ties to the national currents of change that took place in this society. And for young people to be involved in the telling of this story, in the documenting of this story, I think really carries on and maintains that tradition of activism.
Before the war, Richmond was a town of about 23,000 people, and in 2 years' time it got to 108,000. People had come in from the South, both black and white, who were marginal in the South economically, and had worked in the shipyards and made fabulous money compared with what they'd made in the South.
During the height of the 100,000 plus population, most of the blacks lived in public housing. It was either Seaport, Pullman, Harbor Gate, Cutting, South 52nd, Canal. That's where the concentration of blacks were.
You have to remember that during the war, North Richmond, it was the only place in which blacks were allowed to buy property in the city of Richmond.
We was working, making big time money. I think I was making about 95 cents an hour. Then when I graduated from welding school, I got on the job working in the shipyard, working in double bottoms. And I worked there carrying those big 55-pound welding rods. And after we made our first paycheck, I told my friend, I said, I'm gonna buy a home. So I went to the Bank of America downtown and I applied for a loan. They gave me a loan, so I bought the place in North Richmond.
Following the war, blacks anticipated when the shipyards closed, they'd go back to the South. But instead, people said to their relatives, come.
And then everybody just started flocking to North Richmond.
Basically, you had people coming in from Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas.
I was told there were whole streets of people that came from one town in Texas, and they came to the Bay Area and just settled in one block.
It was pretty much a family thing because we were either related or associated with each other in family groups back in those days.
People lived in a more rural environment than they would in Oakland or Berkeley or Bayview Hunters Point or the Fillmore.
And this little area, which should have been industrial area, across the railroad tracks, had been subdivided in 25-foot lots.
They would grow corn and they would grow greens, and other people would have chickens and rabbits. And they would share their food with one another.
Basically, North Richmond was a black settlement. And you just had everybody doing the best they could with, with what they had, because resources were not available to them.
People used to live in trailers, in makeshift housing.
It was like a little Texas, out in the middle of the Bay Area. And if you really wanted to hear the down-home blues, you had to go to North Richmond outside of Richmond.
Music was the thing in North Richmond because they all loved the blues, whether it was Cajun music, Zydeco, or Texas blues. You had people that played this earthy, raw music, this Delta type of music.
And so the blues really thrived because you had Southern people, you had country people, and you had clubs that catered to them.
These clubs began to spring up in North Richmond because it was the only form of entertainment for black people, whether they lived in North Richmond or West Oakland.
The first jam session in North Richmond started at the Dewdrop Inn, and they had a couple more places around.
We had the Downbeat Club, which was down on York Street. We had Fred's Place, called Fred's Place. Minnie Lou's was on 3rd Street. And then we had Tapper's Inn, and we would go there for our outing on the weekend.
Lorette played there, and other artists played there.
Tapper's was the entertainment of North Richmond during that time, because shipyard workers and the regular people from Oakland and around would come to dances there.
We'd have a band that come in, like Ira Joe Hunter, and he would come in and play.
Most all the black entertainers have come through Richmond at the clubs out here.
Tapper's had a dance hall. They booked all types of bands. When you made it to Tapper's Inn, you was just the same as being at the parlor.
Tapper's Inn. It was nice. It was good entertainment.
We had Johnny Lee Hook come through there. We had Big Mama Thornton out of Oakland. Pee Wee Creighton was there regular. Johnny Otis, he was one of the main ones, was in and out of Tapper's. Muddy Waters, Charles Brown. We've had Sugar Pie.
Sugar Pie DeSanto is one of the greatest entertainers in the world. She's a great dancer and a physical contortionist and a comedian, and she was James Brown's first female vocalist when he put his review together.
And they all had their own brand of the blues. It was very inspiring, and it was very emotional, fulfilling. They had a personal style of the blues that just really was beautiful. At the same time, they didn't shortchange you on the music. We call the places where black people were relegated to play due to segregation, and segregation was very rigidly enforced at that time. We used to call all of those places the Chitlin Circuit.